Couple of things. Well, first of all, this is as real as it gets. My name is Simon Says. This is going to be unfiltered, unscripted, shooting from the hip, 100% as real as it gets. However, this song is not going to be. The song is The Fool, one more time. This time I'm doing it Jeff Beck style, no pick. Well, I always do it Jeff Beck style on the acoustic, but I'm going to do it Jeff Beck style on the electric. And another thing is, this is why I use a Floyd Rose. All right, The Fool. Oh yeah, and as far as ticks and clicks and all that stuff, man, music is human. You should breathe. You know, it moves and breathes. Just go with it. Yep. 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 Oh yeah. Oh wait. Yep. Yep. Case in point. That's why I use Floyd Rose. You can beat the living tarnation out of this thing, and it's still in tune, Loon. I mean, wow. Of course, it's put into a beast of a guitar. You know, this ESP LTD GH600 is no joke. You see, I give it. I sent it. I mean, I'm not anybody. I'm just Simon Ekman from St. Cloud. Oh, sorry, Simon Says from St. Cloud, Minnesota. Nobody knows who I am, you know. I don't think I'm better than anybody else. I think that I create amazing music. I'm very talented and skilled and gifted. And in my local community, I haven't been able to get gigs, you know. I haven't really been knocking on doors. I went through a community of people that help aspiring musicians get gigs. Well, they got me one gig in an entire year. So now this is something I wanted to do a long time ago anyway, and I should have done it this way a long time ago. Creating as real as it gets. I mean, this was something that I thought of years ago, but I didn't really... What As Real as It Gets was about is, you know, sitting having a conversation with somebody and all of a sudden going, man, I wish that there was a camera. There was video and audio of this conversation happening authentically, unfiltered, as real as it gets. You know, because it's two people having a conversation, not worrying about what the rest of the world thinks about the information that they're sharing back and forth with each other. And it's usually, to my experience, always good information, good data, good ideas, possible solutions, responsible, sustainable solutions, not just a temporary fix. You know, so that's what is as real as it gets. That's where the idea came from. But I never really thought about just talking to the camera about my life experience. Picking a topic, for instance, out of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, not to promote AA, but to show how this has worked in my life, in all areas of my life, and how these simple principles can apply to anybody's life to transform their life. And they're just simple. Page 29 of this book, it says, further on, clear-cut directions are given. That means there's directions in the book. And so when I read it, because I didn't know how to follow directions and I didn't realize on page 29 it said there was directions, I was reading it like a novel and I got nothing out of it. The first few times I tried to read it and fell asleep after 10 minutes of reading and not getting anything out of it, because of course there I was looking for all the differences. I was looking for a way out. I was looking for, you know, looking for some way to continue that habit, which was killing me from the very first time. I have this allergy, you know, and it's a real allergy. So if a person has a strawberry allergy, what do you think? I'm just going to say, well, I'm going to eat strawberries once a year, or just a half a freaking strawberry, just one? No, I'm not going to do that. So why would I do that with alcohol? I have a physical allergy, and that is a real deal with people who have alcoholism. They have a physical allergy. And that allergy causes a phenomenon of craving. And, well, it just, at that point, the brain just shuts right off and body takes over. More consumption of anything and everything that gets in the path until I'm in jail or dead or passed out. So, thank God that I had a moment of clarity. I was able to surrender that without reservation, without any contingencies. And I haven't had to go to jail or black out or con or manipulate anybody out of anything, while in a drunken stupor, to get more. So, I'm extremely grateful that this program, it provided a gateway to a power greater than myself, which today I'm not as afraid or ashamed to call God, call Jesus. It's not an easy thing to come out of my mouth to say that Jesus Christ is the reason for everything, because I have this pride and this ego, and I want to be part of a clan, and it's not part of the cool clan. If you believe in Jesus, you become one of those born again weirdos, and guess what? I don't really care. A 3-letter synchronicity, literally a 3-letter synchronicity, LKV, because I saw it 3 times right in a row, and 3 and 3, 33. I mean, it just, these things are constant, nonstop, supernatural, unexplainable things, and I go, LKV, well, maybe the V is a Roman numeral, 5, Luke 5. So I opened the Bible, and at the time I was not, and still haven't read much of the Bible, but at least I'm opened to the guidances that I receive, and I read Luke 5. Oh my goodness. Wow. Super God shot. I mean, the story, first of all, is about Simon, and my name is, of course, Simon. So right off the bat, in the beginning of the story, I'm like, oh boy, this is speaking to me. And it talks about this Simon Peter, who was a fisherman, and he had 2 teams. Like, he owned this business, and they're out fishing all night, and they toil and they labor, and they get nothing, and they come back to shore, and Jesus teaching the people on shore. And Jesus gets on the boat. He says, come on, people, I'll teach on the boat. Put your boats out. And they go out to sea, and Jesus is teaching the people from the boat. And then he says, go out and cast your nets. And Simon says to Jesus, well, we toiled and labored all night long, and we got nothing. But since you say, I will. And he does. And they catch so much fish that they nearly tank the boats. And Simon goes to Jesus and he says, go away from me. I'm a sinner and I'm unworthy of you. And he said, follow me. From now on, you will lead people. You will catch people. So, see, this story, I got really angry at first because I'm like, well, this Simon Peter, he had a company. He had people. And I'm a warrior, like a lone warrior, my whole life, in ways that people haven't seen, because the war is it's war inside my head. Music is always there, and that was Dave Mustaine in Sweating Bullets, Megadeth. So I'll share, as I'm speaking, I'll one line something, I'm like, oh, that's in a song. So I'll share about it. And of course, I lost my train of thought. Simon Peter did not believe in Jesus. Okay, so Simon Peter was a company. He had a company of 2 boats. And so they toiled and labored one night, and they got no fish. Oh, poor baby is kind of what I'm thinking, because, like, I toiled and labored for 22 years, clean and sober, clean. No marijuana, no speed pills, no I drank a lot of coffee and I smoked a lot of cigarettes, but clean, driving semi-truck over the road every state in the country in the lower 48, several of them hundreds of times over. And of course, for career truck drivers, 15 years is nothing and 1.75 million miles is nothing. But to me, it was like, let's say, I don't know, most of it was like being in prison. After the first 2 years, so let's say just 200,000 miles, so basically a million miles of my life was like a rolling prison. Of course, I had the freedoms. It wasn't a prison, but being stuck in that truck and stuck in my head in a time when we didn't have cell phones, we had CB radios, but you wasn't always friendly company to talk to going down the road, so you had your own head. And K-fuck radio is what my old AA sponsor, Silver Dollar Jack, or Jackhammer, was. Jack was his name. And I doubt he's still alive, but he was from Arizona. He lived in Arizona, and Jackhammer. Again, I lost my train of thought. This is all crazy. Simon Peter. I'm just gonna go back to that. Simon Peter. One night, poor baby. So I felt like Jesus, guided me to read this page, and I'm offended. I'm like, you're going to compare me to this 30-year-old punk who's got 2 teams, 2 boats, and toiled and labored for one night and didn't get anything? And you want to challenge me that way? Like, I got offended greatly, but the moral of the story wasn't so much about that, because I toiled and labored for over 2 decades, and I ended up bankrupt twice. And then I just had a complete meltdown and I couldn't even function anymore. Like, my therapist said, hey, Simon, man, wow, you've been alone a long time. And I went, what, alone? I'm not alone. I have people everywhere, but my gosh, that's absurd. It's what I feel. I feel alone. Why do I? From the very first memory of my life, I was alone, fighting for my life. So it makes sense. Like, people don't understand about PTSD is it's stored in the unconsciousness, meaning unaware. We don't access the unconscious mind unless we're actively trying to access the unconscious. And even then, it takes practice and guidance and so on and so forth to understand a narrative based on childhood traumas. Well, I'm very intuitive. I've been gifted in many ways, and I remember the grosser details of my life that I realized was all fight, flight, freeze, survival. I had to survive from the very beginning, so I had to read my environments and know how to move in my environment so I don't get either booted out the door or something. So I had to almost be unseen, unheard, but know that I'm there, kind of thing. Which wasn't good, because then I couldn't even ask for help in school when I didn't understand the homework, because I was terrified that I'd be judged as being stupid. Well, I didn't know that then. Why didn't you ask? I don't know. That's what I didn't. Literally, I did not know. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I was being fucking 100% honest. So, I understand these things now, and I function, and I'm functioning, but I still struggle because I'm 53 years old, and it took 7 years to unearth the PTSD, and I've had this program that has helped me immensely to deal with the majority of the things. So I was aware of all this, but what I wasn't aware of is the carbon copy stamp in the unconscious mind, in the unconscious portion of the brain, the limbics. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist or anything. I'm not licensed in any way, shape, or form, but I understand this now because a licensed therapist explained it to me. So, okay, I have a carbon copy stamp, and literally the position of the sun is a trigger. The sound of a bird is a trigger. A smell in the air, whether it's pine or it's a certain perfume, and boom, a person is all of a sudden dysregulated and doesn't even realize why. Well, I am very aware now when I feel that dysregulation, and I'm going, oh, that was because of that smell, that perfume, spray in the hallway, like somebody just walked through there, spraying perfume, and it's strange, but triggering. So I recognize that, and I tell myself, well, hey, it's okay. I understand why. I might not remember exactly what happened. I'm the adult now, but that's a timeline piece, time stamp, and it doesn't even understand time. The unconscious mind understands this candle right here means danger. That's all it understands, is because that candle was present right before it happened. And so that candle means you're in grave danger. But the thing is, it doesn't understand that this is 50 years later. And I don't know that candle triggered me, but all of a sudden I'm triggered and I'm dysregulated and I'm angry and I'm not even understand. I'm like, why? Everything is great right now, perfect. Why do I feel this way? Okay, it doesn't matter why. What I need to do is tell my unconscious mind is I can understand why you might feel uncomfortable right now, but reassure you that that is not the situation anymore. That I'm the adult, I got us, because that's a timepiece stamp, a carbon copy in the unconscious mind. And the conscious mind unconsciousness is built to keep us safe. And the stupid part is that it doesn't understand that alcohol is dangerous. But the moment alcohol went into my body, it felt release from the fear of the trigger. Sex, food, gambling, driving fast, whatever it is. In that moment, when a person's triggered, especially as a child, when I'm, 6 years old and somebody grabs my stuff, yeah, I'm going too far. But I understand these, and no longer does it rule me. My parents seem to think so right now. That's okay. I've said some things that are pretty out of pocket, but, and I'm going to go back to the beginning, because Spirit Guides being one of my songs, and I explained what Spirit Guides means to me, is that at prayer, I ask, and in meditation, we listen. Well, as I go through my day, I'm constantly observing and listening and watching my surroundings for, maybe an answer in a conversation with somebody, or even a conversation next to me. I'll hear an actual answer to my question. Like, wow. So that's Spirit Guides. Not that I was eavesdropping, I just happened to hear a portion and boom. So Spirit Guides, where was I going with this whole thing? I was guided to do something. Perhaps we had better start from the beginning. I got in my truck. I plugged in my phone, opened Pantera. White Zombie. Perhaps we had better start from the beginning. I believe it's like Astro Creep 2000 was the album. And it's the opening sampler. It's industrial and it's just wicked and cool, and perhaps we had better start from the beginning. Perhaps we had better start from the beginning. Perhaps we had better start from the beginning. I'm like, okay, I get it. I guess I better head start from the beginning. So what I'm gonna do with As Real As It Gets is start from the beginning and tell my story and tell the trauma and tell my life exactly the way it was and the way things have been up until this moment. But what changed some of my beliefs 4 years ago to bring me to here now, sharing my story on a global platform, because I'm not being heard in my local community. So I guess I will take a risk and go for the global community. Now, I was talking about taking risks. It brought me right back to the whole main story of Simon Peter and his two crews and me, one man, fighting to put food on the table, fighting to pay the mortgage, and then people telling me, like maybe my parents, like, I should drive a different vehicle because of gas mileage. And I'm like, I earned the right to drive what I want to. I'm not you. And I get that, but there's other areas of my life where I trim the fat because I have a gas expense. But I also don't drive just all over the place doing nothing, wasting gas all the time. So, recently $48,000 on a franchise brokerage deal is not paid to me by the person I brokered the deal with. This person just ghosted me, won't answer my calls, texts for over a year. One time, well, I've been busy trying to build these businesses, and I don't always get my calls and texts out here. Well, if she hadn't heard from me in several months, she should have probably been reaching out to me to begin with. And then the buddy of mine that I brokered the deal with, that I helped him 5 years ago find a franchise to invest in, at-home caregivers, an in-home healthcare franchise, which perfectly fit his skill sets, his budget, and his goals. And I think it helped. This man invested about $280,000, and blood, sweat, and tears. But 5 years later, $2.3 million in his pocket, and he had reinvested in another franchise that I was shown by this woman, Susan Bechthelder, that owns Elevation Guild up in Canada. And I call her, in confidence with, some of my story, and I'm looking to try to put myself back online, and I could use some guidance, and these are my ideas. And she says, hey, I have an idea. This Texas Care franchise is brand new. Well, great. Franchise, well, that's my expertise. I actually was a certified franchise executive, a certificate, okay? Not just somebody, I was trained by professionals in franchising. So I understand. And so I have a conversation with their corporate team, and I'm pretty impressed with everything except for the sales guy, because he's the typical sales guy. I have to put urgency, express scarcity, and highlight all the glitz and glamour, everything. Hey man, I don't need to be sold if this is a real deal. Just settle down. Take it down a notch. And then he's speaking out of pocket because, see, I happen to understand something about franchise law, because you're talking about legal things here that are very serious and to be taken seriously. And so he said some things that I'm like, maybe he doesn't understand the franchise laws, and this franchise could use my help. And I tried to say, hey, here I am. I could help, I might be a better fit for the compliance team than your sales team. And I might be able to help your sales team, with all that. Let's just show people that we support our franchisees as they grow, not just sell, and build, and take all this money quick, and now we can't support our franchisees. You see, Subway did that. They had to shut down all these locations and retool so they can support their franchisees. I'm not an idiot, but my family, I'm sure, some of my family, they really think I'm just dumb. uneducated because I don't have a freaking college degree. I have a degree. I sat for years in front of my laptop talking with professionals all over the country, flying all over the country to franchise businesses, meeting with their professional teams. I'm not an idiot. You know, but the thing is that I was lying to myself because, well, not really. I was helping somebody. And that's what I'm passionate about, is helping people. And now I've always been passionate about music. You know, and it's only a dream of mine as a kid to be able to shred like Steve Vai and Satriani and freaking Jimi Hendrix and Dimebag Darrell, and I mean, the list just goes on and on. You know, my list of guitar players that I'm just wow about, you know. Nuno Betancourt. Yeah, that was one I wanted to put out there because that guy's freaking phenomenal. I mean, wow, you know, blows my mind. Yngwie Malmsteen, wow. And of course, David Gilmour, one of my all-time like favorites in the world. Passionate guitar players, you know, that put their heart and soul into it. I can't freaking seem to understand to shred a solo the way they do. But I play, you know, authentically, and I create amazing music, and I think I'm a pretty top-notch guitar player today, and I'm not afraid to say that. I'm confident, and I'd love the opportunity to like open for bands and, you know, be on tour, but just nobody seems to want to invite me, and I try to knock on doors and they're like, just go away. So here I am on a global community once again by myself, not two teams like Simon Peter had. Boy, God can offend me as he's knocking on my door trying to tell me he's there. Like, I know, God, you're there. I'm supposed to trust and believe in you, and I'm trying my damnedest, but see, I have this childhood shit that happened to me, and so my unconscious mind is overriding, and I'm having these feelings of fear. Why? Everything's fine. Well, because that child is inside, that memory inside, the triggers that are everywhere, unbeknownst to my conscious mind, that danger is right here in front of your face. You know, it's not a choice. It wasn't a choice. PTSD is not a choice. But as God's telling me to do it again, Simon. Okay, God, I'll do it again. That's why I played the Fool again. Here I go again, because that's what the Fool is about, right? It's about, in the tarot cards, if you understand tarot, the Fool is taking the leap of faith, but being confident, you know, and it's being like just forgetting everything else, just shoop, I'm gonna be on out of here. And I'm kind of being guided to take that leap of faith. And it's been for a long time, like a year at least, like, just leave, Simon. Just leave here. Go away. Like, why stay here? Your son's mother will not change her mind. No matter how quiet I stay or how much noise I make, I don't have the financial wherewithal to go and hire a lawyer. So, my son, just like my daughter, when they're old enough, will find me. I'm on Facebook. It's not hard to find Simon Eklund. My freaking contact information I have listed for anybody public. I don't care. Call me. My phone number's listed. You know, if you want to talk to me, take my phone number and call me. I will answer it, even though it's an unknown number. I answer them. So I know if I need to block it or not. You know? Or maybe it's somebody trying to reach me that I haven't talked to in 20 years. I don't know. So I usually answer my phone. In the past, I'd let it go to voicemail if he didn't leave a message. Well, F off. You know, it was kind of my attitude, but I'm not trying to be so crass anymore. You know, I really am trying to mellow out and breathe and follow the guidance, you know. Okay, so I had written an article when I had transformed franchise Voyager into career transition headquarters. I was writing articles. And I had written an article. Shoot, I lost my train of thought again about what the article was about. Oh well. I'm exhausted right now. I really am. I was watching a movie. I didn't even watch the end of it. Didn't care anymore. I grabbed my guitar and I started to play it. I'm like, you know, I haven't put anything out in 2 weeks because I got triggered and I shut down and I'm like miserable. And every day, hey, just do it. And no, I'd sit on my couch for hours, just no music, looking out the window because I have a beautiful view, but thinking I should really go for a walk. And I couldn't even 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 myself off the couch. And that's severe PTSD. Okay, so a federal judge has not once, twice, 3 times, 4 times denied me Social Security. I don't know. But I have a freaking phone call lined up for June. And I don't know. We're going to try this thing one more time with Social Security. And in the meantime, you know, I'm trying to put myself out there. Like I do a franchise deal with this Susan Bechtelder through Texas Care. So I don't have 2 teams of people. It's just me, you know, and I have a legal contract with this woman who just ghosts me, you know, and my buddy who I helped make 2.3 million, not that I did anything, I guided him. He was looking for a solution. I guided him to something and it worked out great for him. And I'm not looking for, hey, thanks buddy or nothing like that. I'd guide him, hey, here's another opportunity, which I thought was pretty great opportunity because I looked at it and I'm like, other than the sales team, you know, doesn't really know, he should not be saying things like that because of the franchise disclosure document and what's in the franchise disclosure document. And you can't just say that we're going to change the franchise fee on such and such, you know, next month we're going to raise it, because you can't raise the franchise fee without submitting your new franchise disclosure document to the IFTC, the International Franchise Trade fucking Commission. So you can't raise your fucking franchise fee until you submit that document. And while that document is submitted and in review, it's called you're in the dark. You can't even talk about your franchise to a possible franchisee during that time of in the dark. While your FDD is being reviewed by the IFTC, motherfuckers. And so my buddy calls me up and says things aren't going so well. And we talked for a long time. Okay, fine, whatever. And then he calls me a couple months later because our phone conversation went dead, like dead. I'm like, his phone must have died, so I waited for him to call back. Nope, nothing. He never called back. 2 months later, he calls me. We have a conversation again. Those people are going to go to prison, this, that, and the other, and I invested in 6 more locations. I'm like, wait a second, the last time we talked, you said it wasn't going that great. But in between then and now, you invested in 6 more locations, and you know that every location you invested, I'm supposed to get paid. That means $48,000, plus I have not received any royalties on the other location that's been open for a year now. And I'm supposed to get monthly royalties on this for 10 years. Now you tell me. Something's very wrong here. Very wrong here. Texas Care is a legitimate franchise. I talked to the owners, Charles and Arian, and they were nice people, good Christians. And that deal isn't between me and Texas Care, unfortunately. Because I believe if it was just between me and Texas Care, well, everything would just be fine. But this Susan with Elevation Guild, Susan Bechtelder from Edmonton, Canada, and the Elevation Guild, oh man, she travels all over the globe on other people's money, clearly. Money she steals. And somehow she's going to try to say that what she did was just fine. Maybe I didn't read any fine lines in her fucking contract that I thought this person had some morals, some scruples, some values. She's a criminal. And I'll say it just like that, right here, right now, because in my eyes, what she did was criminal. And to the eyes of the law, in front of a judge, she would be charged. She would be sued, and I would be paid. And she'd likely go to fucking prison. Because I'm probably not the only one she's screwed over. That wasn't what this episode was supposed to be about. I'll have to watch it and decide if I even put it out. But a lot of good stuff was been said on here, and you know what? I don't care really anymore. I don't care. I can't be heard local. I'll just go global. And people want to keep screwing with my life and trying to, back me into a corner while I have no financial resources and I look like an idiot where I just got to go get a 9-to-5 job. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that. It's that my therapist of 7 years said, Simon, you're exhausted. It's a miracle you're even alive. I invite you to see a trauma specialist, which I did. I followed his suggestions, and I would apply for Social Security. Your job now is to just heal. You're exhausted by life. I'm like, yeah, I get that, man. So it took me some time to really come to a place where I just sat down with my instrument. One day, I grabbed it and I played for longer than I ever had, and then you kind of had a breakthrough. I'm like, wow, that was cool. So the next day, or maybe even later that day, and it just kept happening every day. Like I just kept grabbing my guitar because I was sitting on the couch thinking about things and my guitar was in hand distance, and I just started to jam and things started to happen. And here I am 4 years later from that. This isolation period's been great. My community has been horrible. My parents have been helping me financially, but also micromanaging me. And, I make money moves and that I should be able to, hey, take care of myself. Like I'm brokered a legitimate franchise deal. $48,000 is owed to me and 7 locations total for 10 years. That's some pretty good monthly royalty money. I helped the guy earn $2.3 million in 5 years by guiding him to a legitimate deal. Then he tells me this is BS and they're going to go to prison, but then he goes and invests in 6 after he tells me it's BS. Somebody's lying to me. Games are being played. I don't like it. So I'm going to just put it out here globally since I can't get help locally because, of course, my ex-wife's best friend's son is a sheriff, a deputy sheriff here in town, And the people who are criminals always have someone in their back pocket. And I have more to say about that later on. But I said I'd start from the beginning. But this is urgent right now. My finances are urgent. Not urgent. I'm not in any trouble. I'm not going to end up homeless tomorrow or any garbage like that, or even next month or even a year from now. If I want to sit tight right here, I've got enough to last a year at least. Or I could leave and I could just go knocking on bar doors, and that's very difficult for me because I've already taken all these risks, taken all these risks, and doors slammed in my face, and just ignored. You know, the fool, you tell me. You tell me, was that just a garbage song? Just junk? 100% created out of my head. I've never taken, I took 1.5 hour lesson in high school with Steve, the bouncer from Tech High School at Bridge of Harmony. A 1/2 hour lesson. I think I went back a second time for another 1/2 hour lesson and never went back again. So 100% self-taught. I don't even know what notes I'm playing as I'm playing that. Either the musicians around me are blown away and jealous, or, they got some big secret they just don't want to tell me yet. And it's driving me fucking insane. And it's rude. Or there's some real foul play. And unfortunately, the latter of everything, I have evidence to. Foul play. Someone trying to isolate me and block me from being able to move forward in my life. So, send in what's called flying monkeys, people to distract me and people to spy on me and send information back to whomever the hell the puppet master is. Because I'm not insane. I know this. I have evidence. I just told you that's evidence of foul play in my life. And it's not just because she's flaky. It's not just because Tom's flaky. It's because these people are working together with somebody else behind the scenes to block my money. My grandfather died. My dad's dad. My other grandparents have been dead many, many years. Since 98, so 97 and 98. Speaking of my dad's dad, my dad died when I was 11, and I was the only son of my grandfather's only son. And my grandfather was a very wealthy man, and he was a retired lieutenant colonel, Purple Heart, so he was wounded in war. Army Ranger, trained Rangers to be Rangers. Then he became a CIA agent, which I found out 4 years ago when he told me. Wow, blew my mind. My dad went to Antarctica. After we lived in Alaska for 3 years, my dad went to Antarctica. That definitely was a military thing. My grandfather was a lieutenant colonel, and then he was CIA. My dad went to Antarctica. My dad came home from Antarctica. My dad was a math man. Mathematical genius, I don't know, but he graduated on the dean's list in science and technology, bachelor's in science and technology or something. Mathematics, I don't know. But he landed a job as an electronics engineer for a company by the name of AMP. It's a global company. And on the celebration, apparently, the onboarding celebration for this company that my dad was hired on with, they were out on Lake Minnetonka, and he dove off this boat into the lake and snapped his esophagus. They didn't say he broke his neck. He snapped his esophagus. And he made it to the surface and gasped for help and drowned. Bullshit. My dad was either A, murdered for what he saw in Antarctica, or B, I saw his body in a casket. They can make anybody look like anybody, and they can look a fake body look like a real body. I don't care if it was 1984 or not. So my dad was either murdered or he's still alive to this day. And this is all stuff, these stories just keep going. Like, I know I'm all over the place, right? And that's where a person says, maybe he's a little cuckoo or he's on drugs. Not on meth. Not on dope. Do I smoke marijuana? Yep. You know, I've got nothing to hide. Do I smoke it before I go to an AA meeting? Of course not. Do I smoke it before I go and fulfill a commitment with people? Of course not. You know, I have respect, and I don't care what other people say. You know, it's my life. God can tell me to stop and I'll stop. Or if somebody came to me and say, hey, I have an opportunity for you, but you're going to have to stop smoking weed, I'd be like, well, let's talk about this opportunity. And if I was like, well, okay, that's worth that, I would say that's insignificant enough, and I'd walk away from it with ease. I promise you. Now, nicotine, on the other hand, forget about it. That's a MFer. That one's had me since I was a child. Frickin' devices are the worst. Nicotine. Ugh. Nicotine's a bitch. Pretty sure it's just that lyric. It's in a company band song, I think, maybe. Either company band or Clutch. It's hard to tell. Because pretty sure the lead singer is the same in both bands, but I'm not positive. It just sounds like him. Anyway. Neil or something. I'm not good with all that. I'm not that guy who sat there and looked at the album covers and got to know all the names of the bands. I just went to the concerts and moshed in the pits and stage dive. I didn't even see the band play half the time. I was too busy freaking moshing. Having a blast. But I knew who the band members were, you know, and most of the bands that I have gone to see over the years, I've paid enough attention. But that's another weird thing. Like, I'm in a meeting, and I'm not going to break anonymity. I'll just say that I could have swore to God. Like, I'm sitting in a meeting, and the man that walked in, I'm not going to say who I thought he was, because I'd be breaking anonymity. I'm pretty, like, he's the right height, the right build, and a bald head, and a mean look, and tattoos. I'm like, I don't even know. I never seen the guy, never paid that much attention in any of the magazines or anything to know, like, what he would really look like in person. And before the meeting got over, you didn't say anything, you up and out, you know, and he came to a meeting another time and up and out. I think twice, maybe 3 times I saw him at the meeting. I'm like, wow, that's crazy, you know. I don't know if he was trying to see if I would approach him, or if it was just a weird coincidence that this person looks like a celebrity that I'd be blown away. You know, I'd be like, wow. I mean, first and foremost, my number one is God, Jesus. I'm going to keep saying it, because every time I even say Jesus is my you know, my creator, my heavenly Father, and even my earthly father, because really, frankly, I don't have one. He died when I was 11, and I didn't have much of a relationship with him. He just didn't. You know, he was military. That's that. But my grandfather died back in June, and I'm the only son of his only son, who passed away 42 years ago. But my dad's sisters swear to God they stuck him in a nursing home and told me I'd never talk to him again, because I took advantage of him. Because he was sending me money that he told me belongs to me, that he's had to me since my dad died. Well, I know my dad went to Antarctica, so I know he came home from Antarctica and he bought a brand fucking new Cadillac Eldorado. I mean, they paid him, clearly. They paid him well, clearly, you know. And my grandfather was CIA, and then he was a real estate agent for Century 21, and he sold real estate in Nisswa, Minnesota, like in the 70s and 80s. I mean, he made money. Lots of it up there. Holy smokes. And then he invested, because he knew how to invest money, you know. So I'm sure he had things set up for me. And my aunt stuck him in a nursing home and told me, oh no, he took you out of his will and you'll hear from our power. Well, why would I hear from their power of attorney once he passes away if he took me out of his will, first and foremost? And if he took me out of his will, he would have at least written me a letter telling me why. So I would appreciate that letter, and I want it hand delivered from the lawyer that was there witnessing my grandfather removing me from his will. Pretty sure these scandalous, white-collar, greedy clowns did something disgusting. Not just disgusting, like judicial misconduct. And one of those people worked for the Pentagon, retired out of the Pentagon, you know? That's the kind of family I have. Like, I was excommunicated because I fell apart because I was trying to toil and labor to put my frickin' house together with an injured back while building a business with my wife on frickin' bed rest, pregnant with our son because of a car accident that was not even my fault, and she didn't have fucking car insurance, so I had to sue my own. You know, I'll tell the story over and over again. It's not to complain. It's not that I'm a victim. I don't even live in victim mode today, but I'm bitching about my story now because somebody's going to hear it and somebody's going to pay for this. In the Bible, it says if your brother steals, guess what? I'm not Jesus, and I don't give a shit what the Bible says, because these people are counting on me. Just, oh God, you know, and I'll just be quiet and turn the other cheek. No, man. It's like I'm Jesus on the cross, because these people tried to crucify me. My grandfather sent me money after a car accident that wasn't even my fault. My medical doctor said, you must change your career. You did this, the x-rays of your back tell me that your back will not tolerate sitting in fixed positions, bouncing around, heavy lifting, pushing, pulling, all this stuff. Physical labor, no mas. So I don't jog, I walk. You know, and of course I do physical activities. I'm not dead, I'm not going to stop. But I don't for prolonged hours, day in and day out. Like I used to, sitting in a piece of heavy equipment all day long. No matter how smooth you are, you're still jerking around. Sitting in a fixed position, compacting the back. Change your career. I did my due diligence. I found a career I was interested in. I called my grandfather. I asked for help. He sent money. My aunt started, you taking advantage of my daddy. You got more than you ever should have. I'll make sure you never get another penny. This is years before I fell apart. But when my wife came to me and said, we're in financial ruin, because the second time she's on bed rest, because she wanted to have another child, and okay, you know, aren't we good here? We had a lot of trouble with our first one. Why are we looking a gift horse in the mouth? She wanted another, so okay, we'll have another. And she ended up on bed rest again for frickin' almost an entire year. And our son passed away 4 minutes after birth. And that was painful, but, you know, move forward in life. It wasn't me going, poor me, we lost a child, and that's why I'm all messed up now. It wasn't that, you know. I'm over that. It hurt. I can't even imagine the trauma that Jessica had to experience carrying that child, giving birth to that child, and watching him try to breathe for 4 minutes before he stopped. In her hands. I could never imagine, ever imagine, even begin to imagine. But you know, I hurt her. I had an affair, and I'm sorry. It was a shithead thing to do. I communicated what I needed, and I was told, well, if you do more of this and more of that, maybe I'd want to touch you. Like, what? Do more? You realize I didn't even sleep last night? So after I was gone, I didn't realize, I'm sorry for all the mental and emotional abuse, is what she said to me. Can I talk to you? Yep. I just wanted to apologize for all the mental and emotional abuse. I didn't realize how deeply I hurt you. I didn't realize how hard you worked around here to keep this house going. I'm like, huh. Finally, she says at least something other than work harder, find more money. This isn't about beating up my ex-wife either. Again, I can't imagine what she went through, but hey, we've all been through shit. I'm sorry you've been through it. I'm sorry I was the cause of some of your pain. You forget you took advantage of me for 7 years. It's not her fault I didn't have healthy boundaries. I should have known better. Should have saw it earlier. Love does stupid things. Fear does stupid things. When you don't understand the narrative. Thank God I won't repeat this cycle in life. You have been single for 5 years. I was never single for 5 minutes in the past. It's not funny. It's not pathetic either. I mean, in a way it is, but it's not pathetic because it's sad that people go through life, run on fear of what they don't even know, and they just think that, what they're doing is even right. And maybe they're okay with it, but most people, I think, just are not okay with where they're at, and they're afraid to confront it. I'm not afraid to confront anything. Even amends that I've attempted to make where people make the amends difficult. They want to face me. They tell me to put it on the porch. I'm like, I'm not putting that on the porch, dude. We're going to see each other someday, somehow. How the heck long have I been talking to this thing? Way longer than I expected to be. An hour and 3 minutes. I suppose I should just call it good. Because anything more than an hour, people just aren't going to want to pay attention to it. And I should probably shut my effing mouth tonight anyway, as real as it gets. Simon says, hang loose. Peace, love, and light. That's what all the people say in their messages. No, I really, truly, I do hope the best for even my enemies out there that might come across these videos. People that, laughed at my downfall, even partook in trying to get me there. And so they were able to celebrate when I actually, after 22 years, snorted a line of cocaine, and that was it, I wasn't off to the races, but I had relapsed after 22 years of being clean. It was stupid. Thank God I didn't put alcohol in my body, because when I had alcohol in my body, I had to have more. I used to say that my drug of choice was more. No, it wasn't. Not at all, actually, because without alcohol in my body, there's plenty of times where I'm like, I've had enough. Give me alcohol, there's not enough of anything. There's not enough of anything, period. I'm serious. I'm like a mugwai in the movie Gremlins. I'm cute and fuzzy and friendly and all that right up until you give me alcohol. It's like Fireball, there's a demon on the bottle. Just a little bit of that, and that's what happens to me. It's like given a mogwai food after midnight, it turns into a gremlin. Give me alcohol. Yes, gremlin, like monster, demon, and more of everything. More drugs, more sex, more louder. Insane. So the drugs were stupid, is my point. and careless. But I didn't lose control. I was out of control and stupid and careless. And fortunately, because I didn't have the alcohol in my body and I didn't have to have more all the time. It was just, I've had enough. Sometimes it was like, I'm not even going to deal with that if that's what I have to do to get high, and I'd walk away. So that's why I don't consider myself to be an addict. I had a different experience with chemicals, not having alcohol in my system. I'm not saying that it's smart. I wouldn't encourage anybody to even smoke marijuana. If you're not, don't fuck around, period. But I'm not a doctor either. So, like, if you're having depression and all kinds of other shit, and maybe see a doctor, maybe see a therapist or something like that. Apparently I had a little bit more to say. And I don't know if I even really truly finished my story about Simon Peter. And how he had two teams and I'm one man, and over 2 decades, like he's 2 teams one night and he's whining. Okay, I'll do it again. And here I'm pissed. Like I've been taking risks. And you want me to do what then? Because I'm following my passion. I'm putting it out here. I'd love to circuit speak, motivational speaker, whatever. Play my instrument, opening for other acts. I don't care. Tour, go have fun, earn some money, and wait for my children to call one day maybe. Because my heart will be open. I'll be clean and sober. I'll have a place for them to lay their head if they want to come visit, and get to know each other, because the last memory I have of either one of my child, both of them were 5 years old, 5.5 years old at the last time we saw each other. And now Sophia just turned 15. I don't stalk her online. I don't know what she looks like today. I have no idea what my daughter's life is like. I would love to. And same with my son. I get a picture once a year or something. It hurts when I see it, but also makes me smile. And I know my son's playing drums, and I'm like, well, I bought him a guitar, but, if he's playing drums, that's awesome. I mean, one day maybe son and dad will cut an album together. That'd be amazing. But it'll have to be on his terms someday, because I'm just trusting that, their mothers are providing, even though the Stonewall refused to have this parent-child relationship. That's abuse to the child. And one day, unfortunately, their mothers will look back at their mothers and say, you lied to me about him. I'm not very happy about that. And their mothers are going to have to deal with that then. That's not my problem. Hey, they're adults. They knew what they did, right? That's what they'd say to me. You were an adult. You knew better. Sometimes trauma drives people. These women were traumatized by men when they were children. So I was automatically another villain in their life. And so they reacted in subtle ways that they didn't think were damaging me, maybe. Or maybe they were fully aware of what they were doing. I don't know. I mean, I certainly I confronted. I said, I don't appreciate this. And then I was told that I was oversensitive or some bullshit. And I'm like, okay, well, it took me a while to catch on to, what, I'm being abused and it's time to go. And that's why 5 years later, I'm still single. So I don't just want to jump into a relationship with a female again, because it feels safe, because she has a home that I can move into her with. And I'm not about to use anybody. I know my last wife, she had a home of her own. I thought it was great. She was independent, but I came to the table with something, and now I don't have even like positive income to even, like, I'm self-supporting. I'm not self-supporting. I earned it, but it's being blocked and taken from me. So I'm not I am, but I'm not. So here again, I don't know how to monetize this. I haven't watched the videos yet on how to freaking set this up properly. At least I have a brand channel. But I don't know how I'm going to monetize my brand channel yet. If I'm going to lead people to, affiliate links and ask for you to do this, like, share, subscribe. And, I really don't care about how many followers. I care about the right followers, the right people, like-minded, forward-thinking, solutions. That's it. Peace, love, and light. As real as it gets. Signing off.